Every single Wednesday I go to the shop, spend more than I should on comics. I buy my pole and a can of pop. It's Wednesday, I wanna go to the shop, even if it hurts my wallet.
Hello and welcome to the Pull List Podcast. I'm your host, Kendall. With me, as always, is Jared.
Oh, hello! Long time no talk.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm gonna blame the writer's strike because we were at least going to do a summer movie episode, and then the writer's strike happened, so we couldn't do that. So I'm gonna blame that. And the fact that this is being recorded 6 weeks after the writer's strike ended, that's just you got things in the pipeline. The Kendall Cast network is a very complicated machine. You can't just send a text message and say, hey, let's record a podcast, and then say
plugged in. I mean, you would have gotten in trouble. You would have been blackballed forever if we probably would have recorded that. So. Feige listens to this, you know that, right? He's probably
well the thing was so I forget if I said this on the other podcast. So we do the movie roundtable, right, which is specifically a movie review podcast, and SAG did send out a thing that was struck material is basically any movie or television show from the last 100 years. And we don't want anybody who's in SAG talking about it. And if you do talk about it during the strike and then want to be in SAG in the future, you will be rejected. And it was and then that there's that, and then there's also just sort of in general, you want to stand with solidarity with the union, even if I'm not part of it, I just want to,
Oh, sure,
so,
you don't scab stuff or whatever.
But it was it's come on. And I even sent an email to SAG describing what the podcast was. And I got a response. They said, and it was a very frustrating response. They said, unless we're a modern day Siskel and Ebert, then we can't. It would be considered. Then our podcast would be considered a rewatch podcast, which would be barred from doing the thing. So we kind of lost some momentum there. And then
I do what you gotta do.
But luckily the strike's over now, and the good guys won. I think, the actors got more or less what they wanted. The writers got what they wanted. So,
we're back to making movies and TV and all that other fun stuff.
So no excuse for not making podcasts now.
No. The shackles are done.
So what and of course our podcast, which is about comic books, which also we definitely could have done without the strike. Because those were not the comic books were not struck material. So what comics have you been reading?
Oh, all right. Well, let's see here. So I feel like I've been kind of I don't feel like I've had a whole lot of stuff this year, and a lot of it still has been some ongoing stuff. So starting off, I'm going to go with Moon Knight. Jed McKay is, I want to say, I don't know if we're in issue 21, but Moon Knight's going to be dying here soon. But that's actually, it's been pretty good. I've been checking some forums, actually more on Reddit, and some people think this is the best Moon Knight run that they've read so far. That is a stretch for me. I don't know. I think they may have missed the Lemire, the Warren Ellis stuff. I mean, who else was there? What did he do? He wrote DMZ.
Brian Wood?
Yeah, but there was a pretty solid run. I mean, they're not as long as Jed McKay, but kind of nitpicking. But that's been that hasn't been too bad. Sticking with Marvel, I decided to read Invincible Iron Man for some reason. Maybe because Gary Duggan's been writing it, and I've been reading a lot of his stuff lately. But it's been pretty good, and if anyone has ever listened to this before, I'm sure no one probably has, but they know how much I don't like crossover events and kind of how it can really ruin the momentum of a book. And it's been with like the fall of X, it's been pretty much head on, like right with it since he married Emma.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's a part of the Hellfire Club now. I can't remember. I'm a couple issues back on my X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been tying in pretty heavily. But it's been pretty interesting so far, and it's kind of a fun story with the Sentinels turning into all the Iron Man outfits.
I really like those giant Iron Man.
They look pretty
Sentinels.
good.
That's like such a like, and I feel like Sentinels are like this weird, this like kind of weird idea that there's giant robots hunting mutants, and just people are okay with that. So it's kind of hard to write that kind of story. And so a lot of times in modern X-Men, like if it's a Sentinel, it's actually just like, like a human-sized cyborg or like something, that's like on a smaller scale. But like here, they're like, nope, they look like Iron Man, which is like really interesting, but otherwise they're the giant Sentinels from the 92 cartoon. It's so that speaks to, I am kind of sort of back on board with the X-Men now, because I was not a fan of the Krakoa stuff. But
it's perfect for you. I'm sad. It's like, it feels like they wasted all the stuff in like Hoxpox, and just like I wanted to see like the future, and I like kind of with the Moira, her mutant power stuff, and now it's like, all right, guess we're just gonna restart this guy right over again. So
obviously I hated all that stuff, and so I was reading Uncanny Spider-Man, the Nightcrawler book, and the new launcher of Ms. Marvel, both really enjoying those books. And I realized that now we're at a point where, they don't have this weird Krakoa island. Most of the mutants have been exiled or killed or missing or whatever. And we're back to just like kind of people on the hero. The mutants are trying to survive, but everyone hates them. Like it moved away from the stuff that I didn't like. And so I've actually I'm a few months behind, but I'm following the Fall of X event in Marvel Unlimited. So I'm 3 months behind, but but I've pretty much read all of it, and especially the stuff that is on Earth. Like the stuff that's on Mars is still weird, and some of the other stuff is weird. But like the stories but I'm really enjoying the Iron Man stuff. I'm really enjoying the
Immortal's been pretty good. I didn't catch up on some of that.
Yeah, and then Ms. Marvel and Uncanny. Also read the X-Men Blue, the Mystique issue that came out. That was really good.
There's still a bunch of it. That's the thing. They're to say that they're wrapping it up. It's just like they're still keeping a momentum going and all that. And so I don't know. I feel like I say I slowed down. I feel like I'm still reading like enough X books. I'm just not reading like every single one, and then part of that is probably because they've all moved to like $4.99 now on a regular basis. So it's like. Also keep the X-Men title going and kind of see, like, I really wanted to check out the Nightcrawler on Uncanny, and that's the thing too. I need to go back and read some on Unlimited, but
you can just, that's the thing with Marvel is they're only 3 months behind on Unlimited, so it's like
it's not really that bad.
You can like if you want to catch up, and then it's not that hard to catch up because it used to be 6 months. Like you pretty much had to just like. You could read what they have in Unlimited, and you pretty much had to jump 6 months and just have a gap in your reading. Like it was kind of difficult to just fill in the gaps unless you have like a comic shop that has a million back issues, or if you wanted to do digital comics or something, which isn't out of the question either. But with it being 3 months behind, you can catch up really easily because they probably have those two back issues are still on the wall, and if not, you can just be 3 months behind, because half the time when I buy my comics, I'm still 3 months behind.
Yeah, I almost feel like I'm definitely 2 issues back on X-Men. I almost want to just like hold back and just kind of read everything together, I might as well just drop the X-Men book.
Yeah, I will say that like having, reading it piecemeal and even like trying to read the event reading order thing, it's like all these different X titles, even though they're dealing with the fallout of the Hellfire Club, which by the way, that Hellfire Club Hellfire Gala one shot issue was like, I could not get through it. It was so bad. It was.
Well, no, I laughed. So I have like the worst like comic spider sense in the world. Because I'm like, the last like 2 or 3 Hellfire Gala comics have been dog shit. Nothing happens, and it's all a way of putting celebrities in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, what happens this time that I don't pick it up? Everyone fucking dies. Of course, stuff actually happens. So, but like you said, I mean, it was like, man, there's a lot of stuff happening here. There's like, obviously everything kind of the fall of X started from there, but
it's like 2 sentences in the recap page. That's what we have recap pages for. Like you don't need to, because like I tried to read it because I was trying to read all of the like Ms. Marvel, like return of how Ms. Marvel came back to life, and I read it, and I read. And maybe it's because they had it in the Infinity comic version on Marvel Unlimited where you're just, infinitely scrolling. Like it was like, this thing is like 87 pages. And I like read, and I felt like I'd read so much, and I'd read like 10 pages. I was like, I can't anymore.
It's a slog. Yeah.
I'd rather people just reference it. but it's sort of, like it seems like we're getting back to basics with mutants, even if it is still this weird crossover event that's happening. Like it feels more like X-Men stuff to me, and less like Jonathan Hickman bullshit,
Yeah, well, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I think Storm's going to come out probably super OP. I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of see how everything shakes out. I think there's been some common members too to like the X-Men team that that keeps getting voted into it. I know like Darwin's going to be probably still pretty prominent, or one of the team of Wolverines and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, like now that we're talking about it, I might just drop it all and just read it off of Unlimited.
Yeah. See, that's funny because I'm looking for a jumping on point and increasing my X-Men reading. So the other like sort of line of books that I've started reading, and we're recording this a week before Duke comes out, but I've been reading Void Rivals and Transformers, the new Energon universe headed by Robert Kirkman, and just been really enjoying it.
Yeah, I want to say I read the first 3 or 4 issues of Void Rivals, but keeping up on Transformers, and bought the G.I. Joe #1.
Okay. Yeah, so I did skip the G.I. Joe #1 because it's like in the old continuity, and I didn't want to.
Yeah, it was a little strange. Well, I mean, it was when I saw Larry Hama writing it, I'm like, all right, here we go.
Right.
I read some of like Joe Fixit stuff earlier this year, and I'm like, kind of old style writing. And I mean, I know that he wrote G.I. Joe before, but I'm like, they straight up killed a dude and had a funeral service in the first issue. I'm like, that's kind of a weird way to start the book off, but yeah, I was like, it was a little quirky, just to say the least. I definitely enjoyed Transformers. I'm really hoping. I think I'm going to pick up Duke, probably Cobra Commander.
Commander. Did you see the preview at the end of the Transformers comics for the Cobra Commander?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick up the first one and see how it goes. I thought it was a little weird.
So that is like, there's a handful of things, like Spider-Man having to get across town to get to get Aunt May's medicine or whatever. Like, I will read that every time, and along with that, like probably like the next one tier on that is like somebody is protagonist walks into a bar and gets himself into a fight with a bunch of people that don't know that this guy's a badass.
that's like that the whole time. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen this play out before. I wonder what's going to happen. But I'm still like, well, I guess I'll still check it
But
out.
every time, no matter like, I could read that scene once a week.
I feel like I've seen
you
this in a
have
Punisher comic about 12 times.
right.
I feel like
It
I've seen
happens
this
in Punisher, happens in Daredevil, it's like in Superman 2, the movie, isn't it? Doesn't he? Except for it's a diner.
Yeah, I think that's like I mean, everyone's alter ego, they're civilian. It's like how they pop their cherry is getting in a situation like that where they
Right. Yeah, the other, and by the way, the third like one of those things that I would like read, that I would just like read every day is like the hero is traveling and goes into a diner and orders a sandwich. Like that I think I talked about that on the last episode because it happened in the first issue of the current Incredible Hulk run.
Which I was just going to say, yeah, like I think I read the first couple issues of that too.
Yeah, I've really like that Incredible Hulk run. Like Hulk is not somebody that I read Planet Hulk and World War Hulk and a couple of random issues in between since then, but like I'm not an Incredible Hulk guy. This run for me is exactly what I want out of a Hulk book. It is, just sort of Bruce Banner on the run, getting into different situations. There's a big threat going on that he's kind of dealing with, but also he's just kind of trying to get by. And he's also like out in the wilderness, and I don't know, like it's very like you could have Wolverine. You could tell the same Wolverine, and I would also love that. But yeah, just really, really enjoying. What is it? Philip Kennedy Johnson? Is that the author's? Is that the writer's name?
No, I heard it's been pretty good. I did see
I've
all of Immortal earlier, and I needed a break. That was just like wow, this is really weird. It's really getting weird. At the very end, it's like
so many Hulk comics like they feel like they need to reinvent the character or add to the big mythology or do something crazy and weird. And I feel like this run is a back to basics. It is a break from the weird, the crazy out there stuff. Which I agree that you need a break from that every once in a while.
Palate cleanser. I'm trying to think who wrote it in between those two. I felt like I read a small run of someone that wrote like a couple Hulk stories and it switched over to this guy. And I saw the cover of like monster stories are back. I'm like, what did I just read from Immortal? I'm like, that was like the weirdest monster story ever. But no, I'm glad.
Well, it's a different, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't read Immortal Hulk. I did read the run before Immortal Hulk. That was just called Hulk, or maybe that was in between or something. But and it was weird. Like, yeah, I agree. Like a lot of times you have weird Hulk stuff. Because they feel like they need to do something different. Just like he's a character kind of like Moon Knight, where like kind of everybody feels like they have to reinvent the character.
Like how you make a hammer more complex. I'm like, he just beats stuff. Like, but
I don't feel like you need. I mean, if you're writing these characters, if you have to write an issue a month for all eternity, then maybe you do. Maybe you do need to reinvent stuff every once in a while. But yeah, like I said, like I would read Hulk wandering across the country, dealing with weird large threats, and trying to avoid the authorities. Like I would read that all the time. Just really enjoying it. What else have I been reading?
Are you checking out Immortal Thor?
No, I'm not reading any Thor stuff right now.
That's really weird too. Obviously it's out Ewing doing it, but it's a little strange. It's not bad. I don't know if it's going to be like the as big of a critical acclaim as Immortal was getting, but and it's one of those where like after the first 3 issues, I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep reading this, but I'm like, at least I'll give it through the arc and see how it goes. But usually with, again, my comic spider sense, I'll drop it like right before it like gets super hot.
Yeah, I always. So I'm sort of not the opposite, but I'm like I have the same problem, but it's a little bit different. Whereas I jump on as soon as books get bad.
With our powers combined.
Like somebody, like the first time it happened was with Matt Fraction's Invincible Iron Man. Like I can't remember which I read. I jumped on it like issue 26 or something like that. And like the first 25 issues are like the most critically acclaimed thing. And then issue 26 and it's garbage. Yeah. Gonna pull up my pull list. Just to see what I'm forgetting.
You checked out Hickman's Gods?
No, that is not. I'm not reading it. I think I'm never going to read anything by Hickman again.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, and I'm not sure. It sounds like they're trying to reset the protocol of gods in the Marvel universe.
I logged in here.
Also, kind of keeping in line with Marvel, and to get mine wrapped up. Kind of liked how the Punisher ended with this whole hand ordeal, and then the new one. I only read the first issue of it, but that one actually wasn't half bad either. And it's not like he just gets like mistaken for Punisher. But he's a Shield. He's like in Shield. His name's Skulldigger. He's supposed to be some like Black Ops executioner guy. And his family gets killed, surprisingly. But I think actually might have been by Shield. So now he's out for revenge.
Yeah, I heard kind of mixed things, I heard actually bad. I heard that it was bad, that the new Punisher run was bad. So we'll leave it there. So good to hear that you're enjoying it. Punisher is a sometimes character for me. Like I kind of like that he sometimes doesn't have a book. Like I think that there are a lot of characters that don't always need a book unless somebody has, an idea. And maybe obviously there is a pitch here that it's another guy.
Yeah, I don't know how long they'll keep it going. I know, last time with the whole hand thing, he ends up, supposedly dying, but I think he ends up in some other dimension. I can't remember which one it is. So they'll bring him back at some point. But honestly, I thought they were going to leave him alone. This definitely seems like a surprise. I mean, he could be a viable, kind of side character, I think. DC has their guys that shoots their guns and does their anti-hero stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. So Ms. Marvel, I want to mention, I kind of mentioned earlier, Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant, is great. I read the first dozen or so issues of the when Kamala Khan was introduced, and I liked it a lot, and I've liked every time her character shows up anywhere. I just kind of sometimes you fall off of stuff, and then you blink and there's 100 issues, and wasn't real sure where the best jumping on points were and stuff. But then Ms. Marvel died, and I was like, that's stupid. She's got a movie coming out in 6 months.
Yeah, I thought that was really
so dumb. It was like definitely the thing that made me the most upset in Marvel in a long time. I think that killing the character didn't have any, like, I don't love when you kill off a character knowing that they come back, but like if they got a movie coming out in 6 months, they're not going to last. They're not going to die very long. And so like, they killed her character. I read the one shot of her funeral, and it was actually like a really good issue, except for in the back of my mind, I was like, she's still alive.
Oh yeah, she'll be back. She'll be back.
And she came back, she came back because she's a mutant or whatever. And so they were able to use the Krakoa shit to bring her back.
Oh, I thought you didn't like all that X-Men stuff, Kendall. Oh, Craig Cohen
I
stuff
didn't.
sucks.
I did not. I agree.
Plot device for your favorite character.
Yeah, no, it was that's a bad thing. Like, don't kill her. There was no reason to kill her off.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
There was no reason to kill her off in the first place. If you were gonna bring her back, like, you can find ways to bring characters back. Like,
no, they gotta prove that she's. No, it's the whole mutant thing. I mean, the Terrigen Mist thing wasn't enough.
Right. They wanted her to be a mutant because she's a mutant in the MCU. And they wanted to make her as similar, like, so it's the most, like, cynical, all this stuff, like, terrible. But then we get this really good book at it. We get this really good comic, Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant, and it's written, or co-written by Iman Vellani, the actress that plays Ms. Marvel in the MCU.
Oh, so that's the one that she was writing. Okay, I've heard about that. That's good.
Yeah.
And I know she's a super huge fan, so I imagine it had to be, probably at least halfway decent.
Yeah, Sabir Pirzada is also is writing, so I would imagine that I don't know that name, but I would imagine that
helping out with
it's co-writing. Like, I would imagine that person, that the comics professional, who is the other name that isn't getting any credit, is probably doing a lot of the work. But still, Iman Vellani is. Yeah, she's obviously a fan. She's a perfect casting of the character in the films, and it's cool that she's involved with the comics at all. Like, the only time I ever saw Chris Evans involved with the comics was to insult the writer of Captain America. So,
well, that's something too. When the strikes happen, I know in the past other, like, actors would say get involved in properties, or you'd start to see people, like, pop up that wouldn't necessarily, like, a lot of TV writers. You'd start to see a lot of those issues pop up. But I think she'd probably be involved even if it wasn't, strike related.
Yeah. That hadn't even occurred to me. But yeah, but also like when I've seen comics like when J.J. Abrams' son wrote that Spider-Man book a few years ago, it was bad. And I've seen some other like sort of celebrities that get the chance to write a comic, and it's oftentimes not great. So
that Keanu Reeves, it was that Berserker book. Ugh. I mean, besides being like how would you call it, a vehicle to get it on, like, Max or Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, the Ms. Marvel New Mutant, she's going undercover at a college to do something undercover to figure out what Orcus is doing and stuff, and she gets into fights with the Sentinels and stuff, and also she's like got this a friend that's a boy that may will they won't they kind of stuff, and it's but like they just get that in the same way that the early issues of Ms. Marvel really felt like this is a real teenager, like not like somebody that actually has to, like, their parents have to give them permission for stuff, and in the same way, like there were some like dorm room dynamic scenes that I just felt were very true. And then she's dealing with the fact that she's a mutant, which is something that I think a lot of like people in when they're going to college, they're realizing this identity, maybe.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah.
Like
using the, in your life.
Like using the example, for probably the most obvious example, and probably what this is sort of alluding to, is some of the feelings that you get if you realize that you're on the LGBTQ spectrum somewhere, something there, and you can kind of realize it, and maybe you didn't have a problem with it, but also like you didn't realize it was you, kind of thing. Like there are some moments in the comic that just reads really well about, like, her, it really feels like she's trying to find herself, but also like, so she's relatable, but she's still makes these choices that are heroic. It's
and
just
she's at college.
yeah, she's
Does she like boozing it up? Is she like smoking bongs? Is she
No,
experimenting
no.
or trying any psychedelics? Or
not at this
join a
point. Not at
band?
this point.
No.
Yeah. Well, she's I'm actually not sure if she's technically in college or if it's like some sort of like high schoolers in college type
I had
thing.
a couple buddies in college that would hang out, but that weren't actually in college. They may have been like townies.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
she's
well,
like
that was me at that age for part of the time, eventually I was in college, but she's it's like I mean, we're like 4 issues in, so it's like she's just
She's
just getting exposed to that environment,
fake ID and all that stuff.
Not quite, but yeah, really, really enjoying.
Well, she'd be like, "I am this old," and just like stretch her arms out really big.
Yeah, really, really enjoying her in that book.
Well, hey, I got a really good segue.
Okay.
I just read a comic book that was written by an actor.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of her Holy Roller?
No.
With Andy Samberg.
Okay.
I've
heard of Andy Samberg.
Yeah. So this story is it starts off as a young boy. It's his father's Jewish, but he's like a pro bowler, and he wants his son to get into bowling, but his son wants nothing to do with bowling, and he ends up getting bullied for whatever reason. Then flash forward 15 years and. He's older and his dad is getting ready, or his dad looks like he's going to be passing away soon. So he goes back to visit him. He's like on some Greenpeace ship or whatever. And he gives him his bowling ball, and he ends up running into some old bullies, and he ends up like bashing them with his bowling ball. And he's going to be turning into the Holy Roller, which is a bowling ball superhero.
Is it like from Mystery Men?
Yeah, pretty much. It looks like the cover actually makes it look like it's like a pretty cool suit, but he doesn't suit up in the first issue. But that one again, social issues, I think is dealing with a lot of well, not a lot of it, but dealing with anti-Semitism and stuff like that. But that is Image, and that is Rick Remender helped him write that one.
Okay,
it's part of the Giant Generator universe.
Sandberg wrote a Spider-Man issue years ago that I remember enjoying, called The Short Halloween.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that one too.
It involved like a mix-up between Spider-Man and somebody dressed as Spider-Man for Halloween, and I don't remember all the details, but I do remember enjoying it as an issue. Probably something to look up at Halloween time.
Yeah, I would say there's been like a handful of SNL writers that have done books.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you're a writer, you can write comics. It's just like
can't be that tough, yeah.
Like like when CM Punk wrote that Thor book, I don't remember it being particularly well received, or yeah, like
what was the longest like book run from a celebrity? Like definitely not like comic book writer. I wonder who wrote the longest.
I guess it depends on what you consider to be a celebrity.
That's the thing. Is if they would have to be like
Judd Winnick. Is Judd Winnick a celebrity?
Could be,
because he was on Real World. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank. The showrunner from *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Oh, I know you're talking about too. I can't think of his name either. That'd be like a really good Jeopardy question. Who was the longest comic book writer that started off in the entertainment industry as either a movie star or a writer? Or not
Christopher Cantwell. Yeah, Christopher Cantwell. So he was the showrunner on *Halt and Catch Fire*, and he's written a bunch of great comics. And then you have people like Charles Soule, who started with or no, not Charles Soule. I forget. Some people started by writing novels.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what you define the stuff as. And
John Bon Jovi has an 80-issue run of his New Jersey superhero, Kid at the Docks.
So, kind of more like what I'm looking forward to, but Jason Aaron seems to have jumped ship over to DC. Really looking forward to his Action Comics run, but read the first issue of Batman Offworld. Did you get to read that?
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I liked it. I'm looking forward to more of it. Basically, the premise being that if this is like, year 1 or year 2 of Batman's time fighting crime, and he like realized that he's good at fighting people from Earth, but there's aliens too that might be an issue. And so he buys a rocket from Star Labs and just goes out into space and gets like himself put in prison, and he's just sort of gonna learn how to fight aliens.
But that was like the whole reveal made me laugh so much, because he's like battling through, and it just turns out one day someone hired an alien to come down to Earth and like mess with Gotham. So he's like, I have to figure out how to defeat them. So he like sells his whole fortune and tries to buy a rocket and hitchhike to a certain galaxy. Right. Which, what a funny little reason to do it. Like, not because like anything in particular, just because these aliens could at some point show up.
Right. So it's you're right. What you're saying, it's like silliness, but it's also, I like reading stories where Batman is not fully formed, where he's training stories or early and stuff. It's great, just because like I feel like a lot of times modern Batman stories, either they have to do something like take away his money or whatever, I don't know what's going on now, but a lot of times they lean on the supporting cast to be interesting and dynamic, and Batman's just Batman.
Well, like you said earlier about like walking into a bar, that was almost like what it was, is like, Batman got loose, and they're like, what is this puny little thing walking around? Like, oh shit, you don't know Batman. And then he's like, chainsaw time, and he's messing with everybody. They're like, well, maybe we should have paid a little bit more attention to the guy that hitchhiked all the way here.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to it. The first issue was really strong. I can't wait to see where it goes from there. And then, same thing with, with Action Comics. Cause I realized I had actually dropped all my DC books.
I'm reading the Chip Zdarsky Batman, and that's been pretty good. It hasn't been too bad. Not as like, I think a lot of people were disappointed that it's not like super great. But it feels like all my DC stuff. What was I reading? So, Batman Gargoyle. I think the second issue came out last week, but the first issue is pretty cool, and it's basically the premise that Batman wants to kill off Bruce Wayne so he can be a more effective Batman, and Alfred does not want him to lose his humanity, sort of deal. And the art on it's really good. But I've been reading Dark Knights of Steel. Hopefully I'm going to be able to wrap that up. That's really
still a thing?
Well, Volume 2 I think it ended this year. So at least like within this year.
I feel like, man, I'm glad I jumped off of that when I did 13 years ago or whatever, when it
the second volume I think just came out. Well, yeah, definitely behind on that, because I'm like, what can I read that I've heard it's been good? I heard Tom Taylor stuff's been really good. I want to go back and read some Nightwing, but
I liked Tom Taylor's Nightwing. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I've been reading Nightwing for a year and a half. It's kind of, I'm kind of ready to be done with that and move on to something else.
Sure.
But it was good. Like, I don't ever think there was a bad issue. It just kind of didn't, we got to a point where I was just like, okay, I'm ready for, I had my fill of this, and it doesn't look like this is going to end anytime soon. So I'll just, we'll take a little break.
Tom King stuff this year's been good. Human Target was really good.
Right. Human Target wrapped up at the beginning of the year. And that was great. And then I think I missed whatever his next thing was. And then I feel like I haven't read because I read the first issue or I don't know if it was like a teaser of his Wonder Woman. It was like the short story in Wonder Woman 900 or 1,000 or 200 or whatever big numbered issue it was, and the daughter just didn't do it for me. So I
got the first two. I'm like,
that.
no, not even worth getting the rest of. I was going to get to just try the first arc out, but I'm like, nope, not even worth.
Wonder Woman is such a difficult character to do well.
But it was so wordy. I'm like, man, I can't. Like, I don't want to read a whole book on the Wonder Woman.
Did you read his Supergirl a year or two ago?
No, I missed that one.
That was definitely wordy, but it was really good, and it felt different from anything else he's written.
Was One Bad Day this year too?
No, well, I don't know. I think that wrapped up last year.
I really liked his Riddler, but
yeah. That may even have been the Riddler one. May even have been 2 years ago. I mean, this year did feel like it was like
a comic book store this year for whatever reason. I don't know. But yeah, either way, like it feels like I've just been reading some variant of a Batman title. I read I think I read the first arc of World's Finest, and that was pretty good. But I think I got the first couple of issues of Superman when that restarted, and that was fine.
Okay, so One Bad Day did wrap up in May of this year. Let's see if we can figure out which issues came out this year and which issues came out last year. So Bane came out this year. What was before Bane? Catwoman, or no, Mr. Freeze. Oh, did Mr. Freeze come out like right around Christmas last year?
That one was pretty good too. I can't remember. I think I ended up picking them up from the library, to be honest.
So Mr. Freeze was January. Penguin was December. Okay, so Riddler, Two-Face, and Penguin came out last year. Mr. Freeze, Bane, Catwoman, Clayface, and Ra's al Ghul came out this year. Riddler was really good. Two-Face was, I think, pretty good. Penguin, I don't remember at all, but I think I liked it. Mr. Freeze was really good because that Mr. Freeze was the one, like, that's where it was like, it was sort of like the Punisher, where it's like she was gonna leave him anyway.
Yeah.
Like, and if he was to unfreeze her, then she would leave him. So he wants to keep her as it is. I don't remember the Bane one at all. The Catwoman one I remember being pretty good. The Clayface one I remember being really good, but I don't remember anything about it. Ra's al Ghul I remember being really good, but I don't. Was Ra's al Ghul one of them where he defeats Batman? There's a couple of them, like Batman was defeated.
I feel like there's a couple of them I left out. I want to say them. I can't remember.
But I read all of them because they're all. I mean, actually, yeah. So like now's a good time to like remember that exists, because there's probably like really good, like an omnibus or a trade or something to get, you know. But like they're all really solid Batman stories in a time where the main Batman book doesn't scratch that itch, let's say. Yeah. Because I
think I found them like hardcovers in the library.
Yeah. I think they did like release each individual one as separate hardcovers that go into a box set. So you'd probably have to pay $100 to do them all that way. But there's probably different options for getting them. But they are just really solid issues. And it is a complete story in one issue, and they're oversized and everything. You know, just
that's some good people writing them too. I mean, they weren't like
and best people in the industry. You know, Joshua Williamson and Tom King, and you know, all the best in the industry writing them that they could, and just like even if you like. Whether the Penguin issue is the best Penguin issue of any comic you'll ever read, if you like the Penguin, it's probably a pretty good Penguin story. Like, Like, I think that some people were expecting every single one of these to be on par as essential as The Killing Joke, and that just wasn't going to happen. But
Yeah, there's no chance that they're going to be able to spit out that many. But I do think there's some good stories there.
But they're great. No, but like the Riddler one and the Mr. Freeze one specifically, those two, I think will be like in the back of my head. If somebody was like, I want a really good Riddler story, I will point them directly to that Riddler One Bad Day. And if somebody says, I really liked, like if somebody says, I really liked Mr. Freeze in the Batman the Animated Series, what should I read? Then I would point them to this one shot. Like, because I get people that ask me that type of question. Like, you know, I remember I saw this cartoon 20 years ago, and I liked this character in it. What should I read? You know, and so you have to have your go-tos, and I think that these are all strong instances of that. Because like if I don't like, because also like I'm not the biggest Catwoman fan. And I hate that that on this episode I said that I don't like Wonder Woman and I don't like Catwoman, so I must be sexist. But
well, I don't know. You had a love letter to Kamala Khan there
that's
not
true.
too long ago.
That's true. I like there's good ladies in comics. I just Catwoman sometimes just misses the mark for me. I like, even though Black Cat in Spider-Man is exactly the same as Catwoman, for some reason Black Cat always works better for me. I think it's because it's because anytime that Spider-Man gets together with Black Cat, you know that she's not going to be the long-term love interest. Like, they're not going to get married. Like, it's never going to get serious. Whereas with Catwoman, like, she's his, if he has a one, you know, sort of canonical love interest, it's Catwoman, but also Catwoman is like a full-blown villain sometimes, and it's just like it's hard to get a grasp on the character. But
so that's one of the things I always loved about Black Cat too, is that, you know, she's like unlucky that she can, like, you know, do that too. So adds like a whole nother little like extra dimension than just being like able to do cartwheels and whips and shit.
Mm-hmm. And the old yeah. But I like the way she's been. I also like the way Black Cat has been written more recently, where she's kind of, it's like she'll have these romantic flings with Peter. It's like she's almost like it's almost like they have an arrangement where they're gonna satisfy each other's needs in between serious relationships. And I don't know, I kind of like it. And she's just written well anyway. But speaking of Spider-Man, so Gang War. Have you been following Gang War?
No, I've just been hearing how bad Spider-Man's been with Zeb Wells that I've just
it's so good.
Stayed away
it's
from
so
everything.
good. He turned it around. I think the last time we talked was right after the right after they had the alternate universe arc and erased Mary Jane's kids and killed Kamala Khan and all that stuff. But this Gang War stuff, which he has been setting up, is just, it's great. It's so at
unlimited.
So at a wedding between Robbie Robertson's kid and Tombstone's daughter, there's bad stuff happened, and it put Tombstone into a coma, and that created a power vacuum, and all the crime lords in New York who previously had, like, you know, I got my territory, they are now all just in an all-out war against each other, and there's like 75 different factions. And it's like, if Spider-Man had not been going on for 60 years, it would feel like you threw these characters in and just pulled them out of your hat or whatever, and it wouldn't work because they'd be shallow. But because every single one of these characters has been the big bad, you know, it's Hammerhead, and it's the Hood, and it's there's some faction that's working with AIM, and all these different factions
level stuff.
They're all fighting each other and burning everything down, and then Luke Cage is the mayor of New York for some reason, but Kingpin used to be the mayor of New York. Also, Kingpin's out of the picture right now because he's
those Devil's Reign. That's when Luke became after all of that sort of stuff. So
So Luke Cage, but then also like superheroes are outlawed for some reason, and so Luke Cage and he's got this, and it's just been like kind of good old fashioned street level fighting and superheroing and stuff.
Well, that's good to hear. Because I heard it's been so bad.
Well, people didn't like a lot of the stuff that Zeb Wells was doing with the alternate universe stuff, and then after the alternate universe stuff, there was like these weird things were coming from whatever it's like Purgatory or something, whatever Madeline Pryor's in charge of.
Yeah.
There was some weird monster stuff, and there was an arc or two there where I could see why people who were not as fully invested in Spider-Man as me, because basically every issue of I'm basically on board. I'm basically game for anything with Spider-Man. But if you weren't, I can totally see how that would be a turnoff. But this gang war stuff is just great. Has been a lot of fun.
Good.
And made me want to look like it did what an event should do. Like made me curious about what's going on with Luke Cage. Apparently Elektra is Daredevil right now, and I didn't know that. So it made me want to go back and, look into that. And it's been a lot of fun. We're just like, I'm reading most of the tie-ins. So we're I've read like probably 4 or 5 issues total so far, but and it looks like it's not going to last too crazy long. It looks like it's probably going to last like 3 months or something. And
that's nice. I like this kind of little short.
Yeah. It feels good, and it also nothing feels like it's one of those events too where it feels like I can read as much or as little as I want. Like I could just read Spider-Man. My only complaint is that they did this thing that they're doing with crossovers that is so frustrating, where they instead of having the first issue, there's no miniseries. It is just in the Spider-Man comic mainly. But they still have an alpha and an omega issue.
Okay.
So the alpha issue did not go in my pull box because I didn't realize that was happening. So I didn't pre-order the issue, and and it didn't. Pack Rat has actually been really good about they know that I'm reading Spider-Man and that sometimes I read the stuff, and so sometimes they'll throw extra stuff in, but it just just missed it on that. And I think they either got shorted or they didn't order enough or whatever because it was not
titled Omega Spider-Man blah blah blah. I don't know. It's like it's so weird how they do it, where it's like even on the solicitations it'll just be in a different section because they'll switch like the first part of the title.
Yeah, and it's just not. Yeah, it seems like it's not super friendly to the retailer, and so I rewarded them by buying it digitally. but I needed it.
Yeah, I needed
to read it.
Couldn't wait. I know.
And it was, but I did try. Like it was sold out. So yeah, but let's see. Am I reading anything else? Captain America has been fine. It's fine. If you had fallen off of Captain America, you can jump back in with the JMS run. It reads like a Captain America run. I don't think it's not like life changing, but if you're in the mood for some Captain America, it feels like Captain America.
Yeah, I read the first issue and I'm like, man, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't Captain America and Spider-Man are the two comics that I have read. I did actually drop off of Captain America for a little while, but I've been back on board for a long time. And I caught, and unlike other comics when I dropped off, I actually did read the basically Rick Remender's run was where I dropped off. And then jumped back on with Nick Spencer's run, and yeah, it was somewhere in Nick Spencer's run I jumped back on. But I read those issues that I skipped, and I've pretty much kept up with Captain America since then. And before that, back to 2006.
Man,
So,
Hydra Cap. I haven't thought about Hydra Cap in a while.
yeah, I think that it gets a little bit unfairly maligned on that, but
Well, at least it definitely did when it came out, because you're just like, what you do to Cap? He's like
Right.
a symbol. I'm like, well, that's the point of the story.
yeah. And I liked it, and I actually like and he's Captain Krakoa.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't gotten to that issue yet, but I guess he's the that. But Captain America's been fine. And then What's the Furthest Place from Here by I think it's Joshua Williamson?
I hear that's pretty good. A lot of people seem to like it.
Yeah, I've really or Matthew Rosenberg, sorry. I knew it was one of those.
Yes.
One of those, he's one of those names that like I know it when I hear it, but I couldn't tell you what they wrote. But yeah, it's been really interesting. We finally got like some answers to the reason for the way the world is. In the most recent issue, which is kind of interesting because I kind of felt like one of those weird comic book high concept worlds that maybe they were just making it up as they were going along. And I was actually fine with that because of the, look and feel of the book and what are they going to think of next kind of stuff. But they actually had some explanations in the most recent issue that I was pretty impressed with, which does suggest that it's probably, that it's probably going to be a finite run, that it's going to be, 24 issues or something. But yeah, it's been a fun little run. That's also the comic that was supposed to have a 7-inch 45 come with each issue if you ordered the special version. And I think I ordered the special version. I think I've gotten 3, and they're at issue 18.
Oh wow.
So I mean they take a long time to come out. But yeah, and I don't know how many will be made, but it's still a cool idea. And then the other thing that I've been doing is I've been reading a lot of Marvel Unlimited. In particular, I've been reading the Bone Claw era of Wolverine.
Ooh.
Which has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping that in 2024 I can kind of like check off some bucket list stuff as far as reading like more of the kind of homeworky stuff. Like I'd like to read the first, either the first 20 or the first 100 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, maybe read the first handful of issues of X-Men, Fantastic Four stuff, just like kind of get some of my, I mean, I've read a lot of that stuff, like bits and pieces here and there, but just to kind of be able to say definitively, I've read this chunk, and then next year I can read this chunk, and then eventually, because I've been reading Spider-Man for 400 issues at least, so we're almost to the point where I've read, I've read more that were coming as far as on release, that I've read more than I haven't read, and even a lot of that stuff in between I've read. But I haven't sat down and started at the beginning and just, worked my way through however many.
You want to talk about any movies?
So sure. I did. I talked a lot about movies on other podcasts that I made that I recorded earlier today and will be released, but I'm sure we won't talk about the same stuff. I did just see Wonka. Oh, which was fine.
Yeah.
Wasn't as I was expecting it to be, like either either amazing or terrible, and it was pretty. Like it wasn't like, and when I say it was middle of the road, I don't mean that like it was competent but forgettable and actually bad. Like it was actually like if it was 20% better, it would have been great. Like it was a good 3-star film. The music was good, the story was good, the performances were good. It was just like missing something. Like if it was just a little weirder, or just it was either weirder or more grounded. It may have I don't know. It was just like kind of because I can point to all the stuff I loved. Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa was great, and Hugh Grant singing the Oompa Loompa songs was great. Timothy Chalamet as Willy Wonka was great. Really all the perform, even like Keegan-Michael Key, who I usually don't feel like he does the best job. I thought he was really entertaining in his role, and a lot of little stuff, like there's the scene in the zoo where they have to milk a giraffe that's really wild and really good, but there's just like it just like kind of didn't. It got most of the way there, and it just didn't quite, there was something like, I wish it was just a little weirder, a little bit something. But it wasn't like, it could have been really bad. I was talking to my wife this morning, and what it could have been was like, oh, it actually turns out that Charlie's Grandpa Joe helped helped found the chocolate factory, and he was actually Willy Wonka's old partner, or and there weren't like a million like cameos. There was no young Grandpa Joe. There was no Mike TV's dad or anything like that. It didn't feel cynical. Like it felt like they actually had this story they wanted to tell. It just wasn't quite. But I'll be really curious to hear what other people think, because usually people disagree with me. So it could be that people love it, or it could be that people, like that it didn't do anything for them.
I've heard decent stuff. I heard Timothy Chalamet's voice isn't like the best out there, but for what they need him to do,
his singing I thought was fine. Yeah, I mean everything. I can't find fault with anything that he did. I think, and I mean, like the songs were like good. There's one song in particular where he where he has to work at this laundromat where they go scrub a bunch. That is like, it's a banger. Like it's great. It's great. Like it's like so much of it is just tremendous, but it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't quite. It doesn't like, so much. There's so much of it. Now I'm talking about it. Like there's so much that I liked, but it just, I don't know if it was, maybe it needed, 10 more minutes of, character development or story or something, or maybe it had too much story. I don't know. What movies have you been seeing?
I feel like I haven't been seeing much at all, to be honest. I've been going off of that's my Xbox, going into the movies, and then they have new $4.99 movies every Tuesday. So I've been going back through there and getting all the classics. So last week I bought Fight Club and Terminator 2. So I'm like, well, what other boy movies can I get? And I was kind of looking through them, like superhero movies that came out in 2023 that I've seen. So I did end up seeing Across the Spider-Verse. Definitely enjoyed that. And of course, just like you said, it's half a movie.
Yep.
Yep. Shazam! Fear the Gods wasn't too bad. I mean, it definitely felt like he's battling geezers the whole time, which kind of threw me off a little bit. This is kind of funny they put this in there, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie was really cool.
That was great. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Quantum Mania, like looking back at it now, makes me laugh, especially with all like, well, this is gonna be funny because now it's like breaking news that Jonathan Majors is
Right.
convicted in his trial and Marvel dropped him. So
Yeah. That's literally that'll date this recording. So hopefully I release
pretty
it within
much.
within a decent time frame. But yeah, we literally like within the last couple hours, the news broke that Jonathan Majors was found guilty, let go by Marvel. I mean,
it's enter in Doctor Doom, who's going to be.
well, I mean, honestly, you could very easily recast him. Like the whole thing is that he's a million different versions of himself.
No, that's true. And people were saying that he was in Loki too. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Like Marvel maybe thought like he had a chance of beating it.
Yeah.
But
I actually have a friend who lives in New York and is a lawyer, and he actually sat in on parts of the trial. And he was thinking that it could go either way.
Yeah.
But
either way, it would be interesting to see how they spin. Well, I don't know. I don't want to call it spin, but interested to see how they or what they do in light of the news and.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could go. Yeah, anything could happen, but they have, just for what it's worth. First of all, they have recast characters.
Oh, sure.
Probably nobody quite as big as him.
Middle of their arc rising and their major storyline.
But also like
Rhodey.
the version that was Jonathan Majors in Quantumania is dead, and the version that was in Loki is dead too, right?
I didn't watch the second one.
I don't remember. I didn't watch the second season of Loki either. I thought the first season was so bad, but I was pretty sure that he also was. Maybe I'm wrong, but
maybe like Terrence Howard will come back as Kang.
That would be great. Pretty great.
Breaking news, everybody.
He's literally like the whole point of his character of his character arc in this, especially, is that there are a million different versions of him and a million different timelines and stuff. And we have established via No Way Home that in other universes you are played by different actors.
Well, this is the Council of the Kangs. That's what it is now. So it's the council once removed. That's what kind of sucks too, is that they did show, like Immortus and all the other like main versions that were going to take place. I'm sure no one in Marvel is happy with the news today, but I'm sure they probably planned for it for.
But I just really think that in general, if we're going to have these, like, if we're going to live in a world where there are going to be these franchise serialized continuities that last 15 years or whatever, we just need to make peace with recasting characters. Like, you just, James Bond changes the James Bond every few years. Doctor Who changes the Doctor every few years. Like, it's
I would be surprised if they blow up the current MCU at the end of all these Avenger movies that they're rewriting. I mean, and just start over from there.
I mean, obviously things at both in the MCU and the Star Wars sides of things are always changing, but they've always been changing. I mean, Ms. Marvel was supposed to be friggin' Skye from S.H.I.E.L.D. and and was supposed to get there, and the Inhumans were supposed to be a movie, and now the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show doesn't exist anymore.
I hope they don't fuck up Thunderbolts.
Yeah. I mean, it could go.
Well, and Wolverine Deadpool looks pretty cool, but I keep seeing it like all set photos, and then it's going to ruin the whole movie. I just need to like boycott.
I will say, like, I really wanted them to recast Wolverine. I actually have a feeling, and I'm usually wrong about these feelings, but I have a feeling that that Hugh Jackman he'll be a big part of Deadpool, obviously, because he's in so much of the stuff. Yeah. But I have a feeling that storyline wise, like, he will
pass the torch pretty much.
He's not the he's not going to be the Wolverine of the MCU that we see. At least I hope not, because I really like to start fresh. I mean, did you see Marvels?
No, but with Kelsey Grammer, I heard
Well,
about that.
I mean, Kelsey Grammer is fine. Like he can be. First of all, Beast is like a CGI character, and or he's either CGI or lots of makeup and prosthetics. Like he can, but any stunts or whatever are going to be CGI with him if he does.
Kelsey Grammer's a geezer too now, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's fine if they wanted to do it, but I hope that. I mean, Logan isn't my favorite movie, but it was a good send off for Wolverine, for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and I really wish that we could kind of start fresh.
Daniel Radcliffe's right around the corner. I mean, come on, just give him a suit that's a little bit smaller.
That would be amazing. I would love. I was thinking Timothée Chalamet because he's the only actor that I know, but Daniel Radcliffe would be. You're right. Would be perfect.
Oh, Timothée Chalamet. Yeah, like I don't know anybody. Yeah, like
I don't know young actors.
I don't know anybody that's under 30.
Yeah. Whoever's on whatever Disney Channel show.
Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
I know by the name of their other characters. Don Draper.
No, they're all too old.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean everybody's too old.
Like Flash.
You need. I mean, they did the right thing with Tom Holland. They cast Tom Holland when he was like 12. And I mean that's basically what they need to do is find somebody who is. I mean, I think somebody who is because how old is Daniel Radcliffe? He's like probably like 35.
It makes me so sad because I was like starting to get my son. We're probably gonna start reading Harry Potter books, and I showed him the trailer of Sorcerer's Stone. I'm like, Harry looks like a baby in these, and then it's like Guns Akimbo. I'm thinking of like Daniel Radcliffe, like, he's growing up.
He's got like that like kind of chiseled face that would actually really work for Wolverine.
I could see.
Yeah. I think he's my official fan casting. And he's also
too.
Yes, exactly. He's short. Yeah, he's short enough.
Or give him his suit muscles.
Well, didn't he get really buff for like part of Weird? I feel like there was a scene in Weird, unless it was a body double where he had like abs.
I wouldn't be surprised if Weird Al would be like, "Yeah, we're just doing a body double."
Yeah, 34 years old, by the way. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's fine for like that's about as old as I would want to cast somebody who is going to be in a role that requires like physical activity for the next 10 years. You know, because if you cast a 40-year-old, then they're going to be 50. And before you know it, you're in Star Trek 6 territory.
Well, and that's something too with Hugh Jackman. I always had to suspend my belief, obviously, that Wolverine should be like the same age because age is slower, so it's not like he should look like he's 30 and now he's like 50.
Yeah. I mean, and that's going to be that's going to be a thing. You can kind of suspend your disbelief. And I mean, Hugh Jackman looked fine. Like I guess the big thing with Hugh Jackman was that he went from looking like an in shape normal human being to like this made in a factory. But yeah,
he'll always be my Wolverine.
Yeah, I want a new take. I want a new take on the character. Like that's really the thing that I want with if we're gonna do X-Men in the MCU. I want it to be new. I want it to feel fresh and new. I want it to feel like the next. I want it to feel like the next generation. I want to give me a black woman Wolverine or something. I don't know. Like give me a. Do something, just take it in a different direction with the character. I mean, I probably would be okay with it, just a Canadian guy, but like give me a younger guy, make him talk wrong, do it wrong.
Make him like
That's what I want them to do.
Make him as Canadian as you can make him.
Right,
Like
right.
hard accent, hard A's, boots.
That would be. I'd be on board with that.
Coffee on him, drinking like whatever Molson. I mean, like red flannel, hockey.
He drinks. I have found in the comics that they're inconsistent with what type of Canadian whiskey he likes. Because I used to think it was Canadian Club. Because in one of the Krakoa books, he asked Kitty Pryde to bring him Canadian Club. I started drinking Crown Royal because in Death of Wolverine he drinks Crown Royal.
Interesting.
But in like one of the early like Weapon X books, like from the mid '90s, he was drinking Seagrams.
Apple teenies.
No, it's always Canadian whiskey. At least they're that
bub.
At least they go they go with that, and then sometimes he drinks beer.
Yeah, the whole beer thing. It's funny. It's like, why even bother? You're not even gonna feel it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I don't even feel it when I drink beer. So
Wolverine's
definitely not going to.
Would you like a peanut?
Yeah, and I mean, just for what it's worth, I loved Marvels. I thought it was great. I thought it was just like a delightful film. Just perfect chemistry between the leads. Silliness with the cats. So
I definitely want to see it. I figure I'm just like, that's what I figured with my Disney subscription. I'm gonna wait till enough stuff comes on there so I can just binge for a month. And
so this is only a minor spoiler, but at one point, the Sword space station, around Earth, has to be evacuated, and they don't have enough room in this escape pods for everybody. So they have all of the there are a bunch of these, like the cat alien from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of those, and they have them eat all of the people on board the ship, and then they take the cats down, and then the cats barf them up.
That's
it's great. It's and there's a handful of moments like just enough of those wild, like ridiculous moments in it that it's great, but it doesn't overdo it, and you still care about the character. It still has heart, because sometimes MCU movies overdo with the comedy, and I think that they thread the needle perfectly in this.
Yeah, I hate to see that as being compared to Morbius, but I haven't gone out to the theater to watch it, so I can't really complain.
I mean, I liked Morbius, but that's insane. Like, this was.
Well, I hope people don't judge it by that, because it definitely does seem, from everyone that I've talked to, or not talked to, but everyone I've read, that, I mean, they seem to enjoy it.
I think it's going to be like Solo, in that once it's available on streaming, a lot of people will see it and be like, "Oh wow, this is actually really good," And I hope that, and also
Flash, except for no one's going to think it's like, no one thought the Flash was really good. So
yeah.
But they still got a lot of views.
Yeah. I mean, it was, the Flash was okay. I think it needed to be, the thing with the Flash was that it needed to be like the best movie you've ever seen in order to get people excited about the future of the DC universe.
Well,
and it was
just such a weird, especially where it's stuck. And that's like Blue Beetle, that came on Max. I need to watch that, or I can watch it sometime. But now Barbie's out too, so I need to watch that.
Barbie was so good.
I'm behind.
Yeah. Barbie was so good, and especially to see it in theater. If it comes back to theaters, then see it in theaters, or like get 30 women of various ages from 12 to 60, just like, and have them be in the room and watch it with you.
Well, so when I took my son when Turtles came out, we went to go see it at the Grandview Theater, And next door to it, they were showing Barbie at the time. So we walk in there, and it's a bunch of middle-aged women getting boozed up, wearing pink, and we even got inside one of those big Barbie boxes and took pictures with it and stuff like that. And, yeah, again, I heard so many good things about it. I definitely want to see it. My problem is that I've just been playing Xbox. I've just been playing video games. Like that's eating up my movie watching time.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger on an Xbox the other day, actually, because I saw
you can get Game Pass, and then we can record podcasts about video games. We can play co-op.
Oh man, that sounds fun. But yeah, I had seen that it was supposed to be down to $149 at Costco.
Oh
but,
yes, I saw that too.
But it was actually $249 when I went there. So, I
I
didn't get the deal. So I didn't pull the trigger. But, I was upset enough that I didn't get the deal that it's now like even more on my radar than it had been. I've been back and forth, but it's just this year to the extent that I follow video games, this year was definitely the year where they stopped releasing PS4 games. Everything was just coming out for the Xbox Series and PS5.
I got stuck in Elden Ring for a lot of the year, at the beginning of the year.
That'll do it. It's such a great game.
A new class. Let's do another sorcerer. Let's do a strength. We need a dex build this time. That's where I'm just like, let's start it again.
See, I only played it through it once. Man, maybe I should just play through it again.
Part of it was like I was starting to get into the lore. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. And then once I got through it, I'm like, okay, now this is starting to make a little bit more sense. And then, first I went like straight strength, and I'm like, let's just get big swords and just beat shit out of people. And I'm like, all right, let's do some magic. And the magic was fun. Then I'm like watching all these people do different builds and stuff and all these weapons. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need either to just sit down and play it again or to find a new high fantasy game where you make weapons and create a character and stuff, like a Skyrim type.
Well, Elden Ring
experience.
The DLC's coming out like early next year. I want to say like this saw something like February, and then even more add-ons later. It's just like, stop it, people. Well, now I'm just using Game Pass. I think I just played through like the Tomb Raider that came out, and I want to say 2018. And now Far Cry 6, the one with Gus Fring on the cover, started that up. Like there's enough like little.
Yeah. I've cool. That's cool. Yeah, I haven't. I got Yakuza Like a Dragon, the turn-based Yakuza game.
Oh yeah. Pretty good.
And
Yakuza Tactics.
It's mostly just a movie. Like you watch like 45 minutes of cutscenes, and then you have like one encounter, and then you have another 45 minutes of cutscenes. And now I got that. It seems like it's not as bad. I'm about like 5 hours in, like way too many hours in, and I'm finally at the point where I'm seeing like random encounters and stuff. But it is a lot of cutscenes and minimal gameplay so far. Which is like fine if you're just like kind of wanting to chill, but it's like, I don't know if I want to do this for 40 hours.
No, I ran into that with Tomb Raider. I'm trying to get in a little bit during my lunch break. I work from home. I'm like, shit, like I'm trying to take like 30 minutes to just like shoot some guns. And then it's like, holy shit, 15 minutes of cutscenes. And then,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, this isn't fun.
All right. So we probably need to wrap this up here shortly. I have to watch Home Alone with my wife, but but you said your son's getting into Pokemon and you had some questions for me.
Yeah, well, we might have to do like a separate thing, but he started trading them at school with some of his buddies, and we've been opening packs, and I'm starting to keep some of the nicer ones, and he's getting gifts, and every time we go to Heroes and Games, he's getting promo cards. They're just giving a bunch of free stuff just to keep locking them in. But we started getting singles, but going after obviously Pokemon that he likes.
Yeah.
But He's 5, so his battling is they go like this. They clink together. They don't actually they can't read. So a lot of it's saving for him, and obviously I want to be cognizant of any kind of good cards. I'm putting my top loaders in plastic and stuff like that. Like I treat my other cards I used to collect if they're decent, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on the market and stuff. But is there good stuff is there anything particular that's kind of fun to go back and try to collect?
The Pokemon cards is actually an area that I'm not as knowledgeable on. I mean, I collected them when I was 12 and I have a handful of the base stuff, but I haven't really jumped back into that. Pokemon for me is about, it's first the video games and then the anime.
Okay, well, so that's what he's moving on. So he's been watching some of the anime that's been on like the streaming stuff, but I'm trying to think of some good video games. We have a Switch, so there's obviously selections there.
So Let's Go Pikachu is the gateway Switch game.
Okay,
it's the most basic. I haven't actually played it, so I can't.
Well, he saw that or the Eevee one. He likes
they're the same. It's the same game. It's whether he likes Pikachu or Eevee better.
Yeah, so that's what he is. Yeah. Okay, good. That's what someone else mentioned that, and they also mentioned it was at a GameStop, and they had only so many, but this one's probably not going to be good for him or
I mean once if he's 5 now, probably within the next year or two, once he starts to learn to read, because also it's probably, it would actually be the kind of thing that would help him.
Oh, we use it to help read. Honestly, even with math, I mean, we do a lot of battles, but it's we'll go through the attack hit points and stuff like that. But, I mean, for me, that's how I get my dopamine hits was from ripping old sports cards. This is for me now. I'm like, ooh, what do we got here now? And so he likes the Gigantamax cards and that's something too. If I, just to get him to go to the comic store with me, I'm like, I'll buy you a pack of cards, or you can buy a $3 or $4 card that you like. So you collecting Gigantamaxes, and he likes Dynamax, all the maxes.
Yeah, the Gigantamaxes from Sword and Shield, and the Dynamaxes from Scarlet and Violet, because they always have 2 versions of the game, so that you can't collect all the Pokemon without trading with your friends. I mean, I would say if he can't quite read, start him with one of the Let's Go games, and then honestly, none of them are that complicated. Once he can read, or once he can kind of read, then you can jump in with any of them.
Yeah, so I think that's, and then he likes the anime enough, and all that sort of stuff. But him and his buddies at school, it's funny. And we just got him a binder and trading the foils or all the crappy cards, and it's kind of funny. Cause I'm wondering if your buddy's gonna like there's certain cards that you're not going to take to school. Okay, you're not going to be able to trade this with your friend. And he told him he's going to get him a Mew. I'm like, where are you going to get a Mew? Because I'm the one that buys these cards. It's not you.
Yeah. I mean, just I mean, the trading card stuff, it's be aware of the prices. There are even apps that you can use to scan a card and it'll tell you what its value is.
Yeah, I've used some. It's actually kind of cool. I honestly, the biggest rip off that I found so far in our short time of collecting has just been the Halloween packs, because I'm like, this will be kind of fun that we can kind of rip here and there. And we got the $30 Halloween pack. And I thought we would at least get
it was
one
just
of
all
each.
Garbage.
Yeah. Well, there's only a very limited amount, but we didn't even get all the limited amount. It's just a bunch of half of it, and it's triggered. I mean, it's
then you trade for the other half.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
I mean, that's good. But I kind of wondered about those as well when I saw those. I was like, I'll bet that it's all I'll bet it's 3 common cards per pack.
It is, but they said it's a limited of 45 cards, and I want to say that we may have got 30 of them, and I'm like, how are we going through so many packs, not hitting at least one of all of them?
Well, and that's why you buy singles.
It's a trick or treat pack. What do you expect?
Exactly. Exactly. It's fun to open them.
Yeah, and we actually took him I took him down to get comics, and it happened to be the Pokemon tournament. Might have been last summer.
Mm.
So that was fun. We had to take pictures, big inflatable Pikachu.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
front.
because I saw you there. We had a Star Wars card tournament that
That's
day.
right. Yeah. So he had a lot of fun, and every time he goes to the comic store, they always like hand him like free cards or some other stuff. So it's like,
Well, yeah, you got to get him hooked young.
oh yeah, very young. And that's one thing too. I liquidated some of my comic collection for trading stuff. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get him some cards and maybe a Pikachu stuffy and some, like, just wasted it. And again, for me, it's just so I can rip the cards and get the dopamine hits. And he has no idea what any of that stuff means.
Yes. Well, against, and I mean, teach him how to play. I mean, teach him how to play the game.
No, I'm excited to be able to
Yeah.
do all that, and yeah, like I said before, it's been helping to be able to read. Like before we go to bed, we'll read through the cards, and
Yeah.
he knows all the types and the weaknesses, and I mean he knows more about it than I do probably, but
he
just can't read.
yeah.
Which is a key component to playing.
And I will say that I'm thinking like, so there's no voice acting in the Pokemon games, so that's a big thing. But they do a lot of times use like if you're talking about typing,
they have those
like,
assistants, I always hate it because I would get that mode stuck on video games where every time you move it, it'd be like start menu, select menu.
Well, no. That's not what I'm. No, but like if you're talking like when you have a move, it will be like different colors will correspond to different typing.
Okay. So like
in the game,
run away, all that sort of stuff. Okay,
that's sort of help with some of that if they don't
That's how I'm teaching my kid how to do all this stuff is through video games pretty much. That's the goal.
All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and wrap that up here. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, keep reading those comics. Right. Wrap up. This podcast is a production of the Kendall Cast Podcast Network. You can support the show for just $2 a month at patreon.com/KendallCast or make a direct donation through the PayPal link at kendallcast.ninja. Every little bit helps.